Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another video. Now, it's been a while since I've had a PRS on here, and this one is a little different. It's got a 7th string. You don't really see that. Honestly, this SVN might be the best option for new 7-string players. Why? Let's take a closer look. Now, when I first saw the SVN, I was a little worried that it was just another generic, modern Spec'd 7-string, but this time with the PRS body. Thankfully though, that's not what the SVN is about. It's a 7-string with a PRS twist. In terms of aesthetics and materials, it's basically identical to a PRS SE Custom 24. We've got a mahogany body with a beveled maple top and a very detailed flame maple veneer. It comes in 2 finishes. This is gray black, and there's also black cherry. Clint Lowry from Sevendust can actually be seen playing the latter in the video for Dirty, which, I mean, if it's good enough for Sevendust. The set neck is made of mahogany, and there's a 24-fret rosewood fingerboard with the SE bird inlays, one of my favorite visual features of PRS SE guitars. If I'm nitpicky about the visuals, the SVN lettering on the truss rod cover looks a little cheesy, like action B-movie style font, which doesn't fit with the classiness of the rest of the guitar, but that's more than made up for by the natural binding around the body. Now, the fingerboard is actually very interesting. Most modern metal guitars, especially extended range ones, tend to have flatter fingerboards. That's partially why I don't play them as often. They don't feel as comfortable to me. This, though, has PRS's standard 10-inch fingerboard radius, so that's rounder than even your standard Gibson Les Paul. Same kind of thing with the neck. On most of the 7-strings I've played, they've got very modern, slim necks with D-shaped profiles. Instead, this has PRS's wide thin neck shape, which is rounder. For the 7-string, it is slightly flatter on the back than the normal wide thin on 6 strings, but it's still more traditional feeling than like an Ibanez 7-string neck, for example. So those are some similarities that make the SVN a familiar playing experience for anyone coming from a traditional 6-string, but there are some differences as well. To accommodate the low B, this has an extra 1.5 inches on scale length to bring it up to 26.5. So not gonna lie, the massive gaps between frets took some getting used to, but the benefits in terms of intonation and string tension, especially on those lower strings, are well worth it. I mean, playing this thing, once I got past the scale length, was an absolute joy. No problems with the setup or the fretwork out of the box, and I love the rounded fingerboard edges. The frets are also regular medium jumbos. They aren't super massive like they are on the modern Spec'd LTDs. Now, I'd assumed by the price point, and quite frankly by the build quality, that this was a Korean-made SE, but it's actually made in Indonesia. At least in the past, any of the SEs above about $700 were generally out of world music in Korea, and anything below was out of Indonesia. And the Indonesian ones, to me, they felt fine, spec-wise they were similar, but they always felt like there was something missing compared to the Korean ones. Like between the Indonesian Tremonti SE Standard and the Korean Tremonti SE that I demoed, that was the biggest difference to me. The Standard didn't have any sort of personality, whereas the Korean one felt more alive. Super scientific, I know. But yeah, and the same thing with the Indonesian versus Korean LTDs. When I first picked this one up, I was like, wow, this feels really good. The build quality is really solid. And it was an absolute shock to find out it was made by Cortec in Indonesia. So, fair play. Now, in terms of hardware, it's your standard PRS SE affair. It's got PRS designed tuners, which aren't world-changing, but they're more than good enough. I also love how they have the PRS lettering stamped on the back of the housings. It's just one of those things I find cool and adds something to otherwise very standard machine heads. The plastic nut doesn't look too cleanly cut and even hangs over the end of the fingerboard. But even so, I had relatively few issues with tuning stability, which, let me tell you, on a sub-$1,000 7-string isn't always something you can take for granted. Then we've got a low-profile string-through bridge with individually adjustable saddles. Now, I really like the bridge on my Tremonti SE because the saddles are brushed. I'm not sure why they haven't done the same with the saddles on the SVNs, and they don't feel as comfortable or as high quality to me. But overall, the bridge is perfectly fine. This guitar also comes with a gig bag. It's a standard one you get with PRS SEs, and it's actually one of my favorites. It's slim, it's lightweight, and it's got a decent amount of padding for protection. It's not form-fitting, so it's actually the first one that I look for when I need to take any guitar to the tech or whatever. For pickups, the SVN comes with a set of 8515S 7-string humbuckers, which can be split using the push-pull tone pot. Now, I realize not everyone looking at this guitar will be running it through 100-watt all-tube heads. So, for some more practical and relevant tone samples, Boss have graciously sponsored this video, and here's what the SVN sounds like running through their very popular and well-reviewed Katana head. I've got a precision drive in front, and I'm going into Glenn Fricker's Angle 412 Fredman IR. So I'm actually incredibly impressed by the Katana, as was Luke, who did the demo mix. When I sent him the stems, he guessed it was the all-tube Jet City 100 HDM, but no, it was the solid-state Katana. It's got 5 different amp types, from acoustic to clean to the dirty stuff that I used on the intro track. You can pump it up to 100 watts for gigs or down to 0.5 watts for bedroom use. It's got a built-in speaker, so you don't even need a cab to practice. It's got a stupid number of built-in effects. You can save 4 different amp and EQ settings to just call up whenever. Basically, for 350 new, there's a shitload of amp here, and it sounds really good. So yeah, people have been asking me what I think of the Katana. Genuinely impressed. Check it out, link in the description. Back to this guitar though, to be totally honest, I'm not huge into these pickups. They're a little dark for my taste, as the SE humbuckers tend to be for some reason. I mean, they're perfectly fine, they'll work for a lot of different genres, I just don't find them terribly inspiring. So if this was my personal SVN, they'd be swapped out immediately for like Bare Knuckle Aftermaths or Duncan Black Winners or Fishman Fluence Moderns. You know, something a little more suited to what I play. So think of the SVN as either a 7-string guitar for PRS players or a PRS for 7-string players, rather than a 7-string for 7-string players. Did that make any sense? Let me clarify. The SVN to me feels very different from any other 7-string production guitar that I've tried. Now granted, I don't play 7 strings that often, but you know. A question I get a lot, because I'm not really a 7-string player, is what's a good first 7-string? Like, what's a good stepping stone into the world of extended range guitars? And right now, the SVN would be my recommendation. One, at under $1,000, it's not terribly expensive for a guitar with these looks and this build quality. You can keep it forever if you want, or if you decide 7 strings aren't your thing, you aren't out a stupid amount of money if you sell it on. And 2, with this very round fingerboard radius and neck shape, it basically feels like playing a custom 24, but with an extra string and longer scale length to alleviate any intonation issues. So yeah, rather than go the completely modern route, the SVN is a 7-string that retains its PRS DNA, and that's fucking awesome. So if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit the like button. These are of course just my opinions and I'd love to hear yours, so leave them in the comments. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, that way YouTube actually lets you know when I upload a new video. If you want to directly support what I do with the honest reviews, you can do so over on Patreon and grab yourself some bonus perks as well. Thanks to Sam Ash for making this guitar available, and to Luke for mixing everything. Social media, merch, and Discord server links are in the description. As always, thanks so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I'll see you for the next video.